Welcome into the Common Dad Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I am your host, Justin, and of course, joined by my partner, Andrew. How are we doing on this fine evening?
I feel like the weather has finally gotten to me. Been feeling it for like the last day. That little
rough Florida weather.
Yeah. It's woke up yesterday feeling like it was on the horizon, and then I woke up today feeling as though, well, it's here.
Got all the way down into the 60s, did you?
Hey now. We got into the 30s.
Did you really? Look at that.
We did.
Florida participated.
I had to turn the heater on in my house. For the first time in like 5 years.
Did the smoke alarms go off?
No alarms. It did smoke, but no alarms.
You might want to check those if it was smoking.
Nah.
Remember the first time that happened to us? I freaked out.
Not enough smoke. It wasn't enough smoke. But yeah, it's just
That's
dust
good.
on the coils and stuff.
Just a little dust. Just some very light, dry dust. That probably won't catch on fire. It should be fine.
Dry things don't catch on fire. So
No,
yeah,
never.
we got into the 30s. I'm feeling as though I may have caught something from that. Or from a family. I don't know.
Probably from one of your kids.
I'm guessing it was the disgusting, gross kids that pick up gum off of the, underside of restaurant tables and chew it.
Well, if you're
Probably
not buying
one of
gum
them.
for them, where else are they going to get it from?
Exactly. Well, it saves us money in the long run, so.
Hey, speaking of stupid kids, not that your kids are the only stupid kids, so are mine.
No, they're all
Everybody
stupid.
else's. So this isn't even stupid kid. This is, well, I don't want to bully a little kid on our adult podcast, but maybe I will.
Here you go.
But here we go. So my oldest, Elijah, has had some problems with nightmares. Not like anything crazy to this point. I had night terrors when I was little. Not fun. But he's not sleepwalking or anything. But his friend Robert at school was kind enough to introduce the concept and tell him all about Freddy Krueger.
Perfect timing.
So, yeah, we got that going on. He asked me tonight, hey, Daddy, do you know who Freddy Krueger is? And I was like, yeah, I know who he is. Do you know who he is? I said to my 6-year-old. He's like, yeah, and he told me all about him. Like, oh, yeah, he's this guy with claws for hands, kind of. And, and this is where I screwed up. I go, oh, yeah, and he can only get you in his dreams? I thought I was finishing his sentence. Well, apparently Robert had left that part out.
You moron.
I filled the gap. So his eyes got huge, and he was like, what?
When I sleep?
And I was like, oh, never mind. Don't worry about it. So naturally,
It's all
he was
fake.
terrified to go to sleep tonight. So, Robert, if you're listening,
Why
Robert's
are you
also a
listening?
6-year-old. Yeah, A, why are you listening? B, you're a little freaking beehole, and I hope you have a nightmare tonight and pee your pants. That's what I hope.
Well, then.
Because that's what that's what Elijah's going to have happen to him. So, I think Freddy Krueger was one of my top, most frightening things as a child for the simple reason that he came after you in your dreams.
Oh, yeah.
What was your top, scary character when you were a kid?
I honestly don't even know. As far as a scary character, I didn't do a lot of scary movies growing up. Grew up in a very conservative household. The nightmarish, rated R type movies were never really allowed at younger ages. I know as I got older, I started to venture in into that genre a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I was old enough at that point that I understood and knew.
You were fine.
some of the Paranormal Activity stuff kind of freaked me out a little bit, but not to the point of like nightmares in my sleep and waking up in the middle of night with night. Like I was older at that point. It wasn't really something that bothered me.
See, I remember.
I did watch. Parents... I do remember. I watched Hostel at one point.
Ooh,
and I had to turn it off. That one was pretty bad.
That's a tough. I don't like the. I remember I watched the first Saw, and aside from all the gore, it's a good movie. Like it's a cool puzzle to try to figure out.
Yeah, the ending and everything. Yeah, it's creative.
But after the first one, I was like, all right, I don't need to see somebody's rib cage ripped out of them.
Mm-hmm.
I can just do the puzzle. Like I could just have a murder mystery movie. I don't need all that. But you were never exposed to Chucky at all? Like even like if it was just on TV, like in passing or anything?
I mean, maybe.
That one got me.
Not to the point that, I mean, my parents could join the podcast and let me know I'm wrong, but not to the point that I ever had nightmares about any of it.
Man, I had. Well, my parents...
Maybe they just did a really good job explaining it if I ever came across it. I don't know.
If you ever come across a murderous doll, punt it as hard as you possibly can.
Kick it.
For whatever reason, I don't know if they were on TV or... I mean, a lot of times my older brother would watch me. He was like 3.5 years older than me, so there was a small period of time where he was old enough to, they could leave the house for a couple.
It was hilarious, too.
Oh, man. We had Chucky played routinely. What's the one where the little kid comes back to life and tries to murder his dad? Like, Pet Sematary, that one. Horrifying. Freddy Krueger, of course. Jason never scared me because he just walked. I felt pretty confident, and still to this day, if I were to come across Jason, that would not be a problem, I don't think. That's all he did.
Yeah, he just walks towards you. You'll stumble enough that he'll catch up eventually.
People would be running down just a road with nothing in it and just keep falling and looking back and yelling. And I'm just like, you don't even.
But you know what? He got him eventually. So
you don't even have to run. You just have to walk faster than him. Like, but Freddy Krueger,
he always caught him. So.
Well, he always caught him because they would like run into a house and hide in a closet with a wooden door and be like, oh, I'm safe here from this giant of a man with a 4-foot machete. Oh, crap. He found me. Of course. Yeah, so we got that going on tonight, which is great. Are you looking for some good, clean stories for your kids to listen to? Well, we have you covered. Check out our brand new YouTube channel, Storytime with the Comma Dad. New stories drop every single Monday. So we found, and by we, I mean your lovely wife found I don't know what you would call this, an article, I guess, or a post, I don't know, from the Mayo Clinic, which I always thought was a dumb name because when I think Mayo, I think mayonnaise, and I certainly don't think of health system when I think of mayonnaise. But anyway, Mayo Clinic, what do they know? They have we'll just call it an article for this case, of all kind of like the negative side effects of screen time.
Seems appropriate they only announce the negative side effects and none of the positive.
Well, of course, yeah. There is no positive to screen time. Do not let your child explore any sort of technology.
This is what they say?
No, I'm just being an idiot. They
well,
might. I don't know. I didn't read the article. Did you? You're supposed to.
Did I get a message from her? I don't know.
No. So anyway, I kind of want to go through this, and because there's a couple on here I agree with, but there's some not so much. And you, Andrew, deal in technology. That's kind of what you do for not kind of. It is what you do for a living.
Right.
So I'm curious to see if you have.
I mean,
a slightly different perspective.
It's not like I'm designing iPads, but
right, yeah, you're not exactly Steve Jobs, but you're not far off, right?
Yeah, we're okay. No,
so anyway,
I have my own opinion about all of it, pretty well flushed out. I don't really care what the Mayo Clinic says. I have my opinion of it all.
Let's do that first. I want to hear your perspective on it first before we jump into this. Mayonnaise article.
I don't like when people blanket term screen time.
Okay.
And then just say you should have a limit to screen time. What does that mean? Like what is screen time, and what's the root cause of why it should be limited? So if you think that you should limit your screen time, because it'll rot your brain or, whatever, what is it that's causing that? So I separate it kind of into two categories. You have, functioning screen time, where I'm watching a YouTube video and I'm sitting there, I'm not doing anything, I'm not really even thinking. I'm just literally vegging on the couch, on my computer chair, whatever, watching this YouTube video play in front of me. It's the same thing with movies, TV shows, YouTube, etc. All I'm doing is consuming. There's then a different genre that involves screens. Video games, for example, are typically played on a screen, hence the name. But I see those as very different than a movie. That requires attention, it requires focus, it requires timing, it requires hand and eye coordination. There's a lot more that goes into playing a video game or a game on your iPad. That's
a lot of problem solving, usually.
There's problem solving, there's puzzles. That all takes cognitive function versus a YouTube, Facebook, or Netflix, Disney Plus, just sitting there vegging and watching TV. So to collect all of that into one and say that we should limit screen time, I disagree with that. We should limit the vegetative screen time, where you're not doing anything but sitting on the couch. Let's limit that.
Right.
But if you want to go play a game on your iPad that has puzzles on it, go do that. I'm okay with that. Go solve the puzzles and get better at them.
If you have a Kindle and you're reading a book, is that screen time?
Is that screen time? Exactly. So that's my big separation. If what the Mayo Clinic is talking about is that more vegetative state of mind where you're just consuming, okay, I'll hear them out.
Right.
But again, nobody that I've seen ever breaks that down. Everybody, in the articles, it's always just called screen time. You need to limit the iPads. You need to limit the technology. You shouldn't buy phones for your kids. You need to limit the TV time. Well, why? What about all the educational videos?
Right.
That are teaching things? What about Bill Nye the Science Guy? Should we limit that?
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. I still think there's a little bit of you're just watching him do something. If you're trying to do it along with him, that's different. But
then, yeah.
I think it's tough to just collect all of that into a single bucket and say, all right, we're going to limit the bucket.
Yeah, I don't think you
that
can.
Doesn't.
I don't. Yeah, you can't say sitting there and your kid is watching YouTube Kids all day long, for 8 hours straight, and kid A is doing that, but kid B is also watching something, but he's binge watching Planet Earth and learning about animals and ecosystems,
and then child C is playing puzzle games, where he's having to solve puzzles.
Yeah,
they're not the same.
They're not. Yeah, just because they're on a screen doesn't mean they're the same in any way, shape, or form. And I don't think this article breaks it down at all. So I think you're going to have fun with this one. So we'll go through it here. Just right off the rip, too much screen time can be linked to. So right there, we're just going to generalize screen time right off the bat, and also they couched it with can be linked to, but not necessarily, obesity. Feels like a broad brush, man.
Well, certainly the direction they're going there is activity. If you're outside and you're running and playing, a pickup game of basketball or baseball or something in the backyard, stickball, you're going to be a lot more active, and that's going to be overall better for your health than sitting on a couch.
Sure. Yes.
But I have way more problems with our food structure in society.
Yes.
That I think that takes the cake on obesity, not sitting on a couch playing a game versus eating 3 Big Macs from, your closest fast food joint.
Yeah. You could probably put 20 things in front of screen time before you would get, or, you put 20 other causes of obesity before I would get to screen time.
Sarah and I went out to eat not too long ago here to a local steakhouse. Not really a nice steakhouse per se, but they call themselves a steakhouse. So we'll give them we'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Sure,
and
Arby's.
Exactly. I don't want to say the name because I don't want to get sued. I
Arby's,
ordered a
if you
steak.
want to sponsor us, by all means.
I ordered a steak, and they list all the calories of every item on the menu as you're scrolling through the menu. You see all the different calorie counts, and so like my 12-ounce steak was, I don't know, I make 600-700 calories maybe, somewhere in that range, and then I get to pick 2 sides with that, and I'm looking through my sides, and what do my eyes behold but Brussels sprouts?
Those sound healthy, Andrew.
At 1,010 calories.
Oh, we marinate them in butter and bacon.
I'm sorry, what? Even if you marinate it in butter and bacon, I don't think you'd get it to 1,000 calories.
But Andrew, the screen time.
Exactly. But
that's
the screen
what
time,
it is.
The screen time is the cause of that.
It's not the butter and the bacon. It's YouTube Kids.
Not the 64-ounce double big gulp of Mountain Dew at 7-Eleven for $1.99.
No, absolutely not.
So obesity.
There's
100 more, horrible things that are causing our kids to become obese than screen time.
So I think we're done with that one. I think we both agree that, well, yes, it theoretically could if that's all you're doing, but
to your point, if you sit on an iPad and watch YouTube for 8 hours straight, which I'm not even condoning that a kid should spend 8 hours doing puzzle games on their iPad. Everything in moderation.
Yeah.
They probably would put the iPad down and get bored with the puzzles before 8 hours.
But hey, how about this? Do 8 hours of iPad, but don't eat. I bet you won't gain any weight. Problem solved.
No snacking.
None. This second one, I think, has probably the most merit to it. Irregular sleep.
Well, certainly to your earlier example, consuming video and stumbling across things that probably 6-year-olds should not consume.
Yes.
Such as
Freddy.
Jason. I could see how that would cause irregular sleep. I've never tested myself. I have friends who do a lot of this, but like the whole blue filter on the phones before they go to bed. A buddy of mine, he figured out a way to like turn his entire screen red to remove all blue. And he says it's helped.
Interesting.
Is that a mental thing? Is that an actual thing? I don't know. I think our brains are pretty powerful, and I think when we believe that something is going to help us, it miraculously helps us because the power of the mind.
Yep.
So maybe I don't know. I know there's a lot of studies that go into the actual like blue light coming off of our phones. Yeah. And that's why there's like a whole nighttime mode on the phones, and he took that even further, obviously, but that's all supposed to help you sleep. I've never done a study on it. I can't really refute that point at all.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you're consuming horror films as a 6-year-old right before you go to bed,
right,
that's probably not a good idea.
It's not great. I would say, and I mean, we play video games late at night, and I know we've both talked about after we're done, I need a solid half hour to kind of wind down. Now, we are playing very engaging games, so I think
for the most part, yeah,
that like the difference between, like I used the Planet Earth thing earlier, my kids usually before bed, they finish the day with about a half hour of Bluey, whatever. But it's not engaging. It's something they've probably already seen.
Again, you're back to a consumptive video versus
correct
something that's more engaging and requiring you to have cognitive interaction with the game.
So I think late at night, I don't want them to have that engaging. I just want them to have something where they're physically sitting, their body is relaxing. I don't know. I've never timed out their kids. They just don't sleep. Doesn't really matter. It feels like, but
yeah, I mean,
I'm
we
sure if
finish
I
our
would let
day
them
a lot
play
of time.
video games.
We finish our day a lot of times with some TV time, just
Yeah.
relaxing after the end of the day. Now, we don't let them have a ton of TV time during the day. So it's like we have dinner, we clean up from dinner, maybe we do a dessert if they've earned it, you know.
Yeah.
And then sure, maybe we put on a movie, pop up some popcorn, maybe we put on a TV show or something. The only other thing I'd say is they normally sleep the best when we go out, though. When we're out and out and about and they're active, and then we climb in the car and drive home, they are asleep a half hour before their bedtime in the car. They can't even make it home.
That I fully agree.
Versus sitting at home and we watch some TV and have dinner and then we put them to bed and then half an hour later they're coming out of their room saying, I'm not tired, I don't want to go to bed.
Yes. I would say that's probably true most of the time. I just don't. I think it depends on what they're watching is going to affect actually how dramatic it is. But I think that's a pretty fair one. This third one, I just don't know how you can extract this information accurately. Behavioral problems. This is a study. Elementary students who spend more than 2 hours a day watching TV, playing video games, or using a computer or smartphone, again, for what? For what? Are more likely to have emotional, social, and attention problems. Also, exposure to video games is linked with an increased possibility of attention problems in children. It's so broad.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I don't know. And again, I would go back to the food argument is it's probably a list of 100 things before I would get to screen time.
I mean, I've heard stories of people changing their child's diet and the child immediately having massive gain in control over themselves. It was food related.
We did that with our middle one.
And did you see success when you changed their diet and removed certain things from their diet?
Immediately.
There you go.
Like in a day.
There's a lot of different causes to that, you know, and again, blanket covering screen time. And, you know, looking at this article, it says watch 2 or more hours of TV, playing video games, or using computer or smartphone are more likely to be emotional, social, and attention problems. I think you have to whittle down what type of content. I think you have to whittle down what type of content they're watching, but then not only that, what controls are there.
Yes.
We have a structure and rules for our child around the screen. And so while there is screen time, it is controlled and has rules and is structured. And there has to be proper behavior according to those rules. As soon as those rules are disobeyed, screen time is reduced, maybe removed, a game is removed, etc. There's consequences to the actions.
Right.
So are you saying that this child has unrestrained 2 hours of screen time across all those platforms where they can do anything they want whenever they want? They could watch it 2 hours straight. And then they're exhibiting behavior problems when you try to put rules on them and they're not used to rules. So is this a rule problem or is this a screen problem?
Right. Now the kid likes to go on the iPad because when he gets it or she gets it, they have full reign. They have full control of what they're doing. So it's not necessarily what they're consuming. It's the feeling of
freedom.
I got my iPad and I can do whatever the hell I want to do. Is it that?
Right. It's too broad.
Yeah. I agree. Like, yeah, it could be there. You know, if your kid sits down and watches 2 hours of violent YouTube videos every day, yeah, there's probably going to be an issue.
Social problems. That's a thing of the past with online gaming. I mean, my kid has, my oldest has made friends who play Minecraft, and now he logs in and plays Minecraft with them. I'm sorry, social problems? No. He's actually engaging in social interaction because of the game. They have found common ground.
Mm-hmm. And you can hear the argument from a particular crowd is, well, just go out inside and play. Well, you can't go outside all the time and play. That's not...
Well, and especially not
always
nowadays.
an option.
Like, I mean, nowadays, when we were kids, and then we grew up in Ohio and not necessarily inner city where it was maybe more dangerous, much more rural areas, but it was, you would go outside and your parents had no idea where you were.
Oh, you just came back at 5 o'clock.
You came home. You came home when the streetlights turned on.
Yeah,
like
it was. Like,
if I were to do that with my 6-year-old, my 7-year-old, I would have Child Protective Services called on me.
Yeah,
because somebody would find my child a block and a half away, playing with other kids, and I would most certainly have Child Protective Services called on me.
Could you imagine just your oldest walking outside and him saying, "Hey, Dad, I'm going outside for the day," and you just said, "Okay," and that was it. See,
I'll be back in 3 hours.
Like but you're right. I mean,
that's not going to happen in Fort Lauderdale. Like,
it's just not. So I think video games are going the other way. I think they're quite social now. If you want them to be.
Let's take another break to talk about something that has been in the works for some time now, and something we're very proud of. If you're a sports fan, please be sure to log into Facebook every Saturday morning and watch our live sports talk show. If you have a specific sports or news topic you want us to report on, or a team you want to follow and discuss, drop a comment in the section below.
Impaired academic performance. Elementary students who have TVs or other screens in their bedrooms tend to perform worse on tests than do those who don't have those in their bedrooms. I think the bedroom thing is pretty key there. That's a big difference. Do you guys have TVs
I don't care.
at all?
No, we don't have TVs in the bedrooms.
Okay.
But they are allowed to use their iPads in their rooms.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I immediately just take that back to what are the rules around the screens and what content are they consuming or playing. Even if it's a video game, if they're playing some violent, shoot 'em up video game, sure, okay. What is the content, and what are the rules around the time and how long they can do it, for what period they can do it, etc. Like what are the rules around it?
The more you talk about that, the more I'm thinking. Because when I first read that, I was like, actually, that might have a lot to it. But the more you talk about it, the more that feels like the parents 100% have control over that. You can put a TV in a kid's room, and then if it's regulated and they know when they're allowed to watch it and when they're not, then it won't be a problem. But if you just put a TV in their room and give them the remote, yeah, you're probably going to have some problems.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that one's more on the parents than almost anything other than the obesity thing. This one, oh no, I've clicked the wrong thing.
The next one is violence. Basically saying that too much exposure to violence through media can desensitize children to violence. As a result, child might learn to accept violent behavior as a normal way to solve problems. So again, we're back to content.
Yep. Yeah, if you're letting your kid watch violent videos, yeah, they're going to get desensitized. I would agree with that.
Even then, I somewhat disagree with that. If you rewind, 20 years, there were plenty of children in our generation that watched the Freddies and stayed up and snuck out to the movie theaters with their friends to watch something they weren't supposed to, or snuck into a rated R theater to catch a movie they weren't supposed to. And there was tons of that. I mean, I hear stories all the times about that. It doesn't mean that they're walking into places and shooting them up.
Right.
They're not desensitized to violence. They're not desensitized to any of this stuff. They're not more inclined to solve problems through violence.
I guess the only
it was them sneaking out and watching a movie. It was more about their relationship with their parents and being defiant or being independent in their relationship with their parents than it was, oh, I watched a video about guns and now I'm going to go use them. I think that plays into the whole anti-Second Amendment culture.
So I agree with everything you just said as far as going that extreme. Yes, because when I was little, absolutely, I snuck into movies I shouldn't have been watching. I listened to music I shouldn't have been listening to. I mean, I listened to Eminem's first album when I was like 9, and you want to talk about violent. Oh.
Right.
And obviously I had enough sense to go, I like the way this song sounds in my ears, but I don't think what he's doing is a fantastic idea. So I would bring this down to a little bit more lighter, but I think like the pages that only show, just like people fighting, just like random fist fights in the street, stuff like that, to where if you were to just give a kid, again, just, hey, watch whatever you want, and they were to watch that, now in their mind, like, fighting is kind of funny.
So you're talking fist fighting.
Like
somebody
fist fighting.
Somebody says a your mama joke and I punch them.
And it's funny. And especially now it's something to, there's a fight, let's record it. This will be cool. So right. I think that's, going for viral. Me, that's where my head kind of goes. To where I would like my kid to, if he sees a fight, to first instinct would be to try to stop it. That's what I would like. I don't want his first instinct to be, if he has a phone, pull the phone out and let's record the thing. So that's kind of where my mind went to that.
Pummeled.
Right. But I don't know.
But ultimately, all of this boils down to the content. If you have rules around the content, if you're not letting your 9-year-old play Call of Duty,
right.
And if you're not letting your 9-year-old watch Freddy,
right?
Friday the 13th and Saw and all the okay, we've removed the violence from it. Screen time does not equal violent screen time. Correct. Again, here we go. Too much screen time can be linked to violence.
Right.
When they're consuming violent screen.
Right, when they're consuming, yeah, exactly.
So it has nothing to do with the screen and everything to do with the consumption.
If you were to hand them a graphic novel, it would probably have the same impact.
Right.
It's not, it's all about what it is. This one is interesting. Less time for play. Excessive screen time leaves less time for active creativity.
Disagree.
Yeah, I disagree.
Again, Minecraft is all about building and creating, and you're harvesting different materials and then putting them together to create tools, and then using those tools to build things. And it all can be done in a social media platform.
Right. This isn't Ninja Turtles on Sega Genesis in 1999. It's different. It's a different game.
So
yeah. And I also go back to there are times when they've been inside for too long and it's, hey guys, we need to go outside and we need to physically play. We need to do some stuff.
Physical exertion needs to be a part of the child's life.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, we're not going to go outside and drill football for 9 hours of the day. That's also probably not fantastic. It's
right.
You said it at the beginning. Too much of anything is bad. Too much Minecraft is bad. Yes, too much playing outside is bad. There needs to be a mixture, I think is quite key. And you can say less time for play and literally insert any activity.
Anything.
Because you're taking time away from the day, there will naturally be less time for any other activity. That one felt a little lazy.
They're trying to force their story, and I get it. They have an article. They're driving, clicks and driving views, and
yep,
they're generalizing a lot of things. But
here's a couple. Here's how to here it is. In the meantime, here are a few simple steps to reduce screen time. Eliminate background TV.
Okay.
So just don't have the TV on in the background.
If you're not watching it, turn it off.
Yeah, I can
see that because my kids all the time, they'll turn on the TV and turn on, some TV show, and then they'll see a toy on the ground and immediately just squirrel and get distracted. Right. And now they're playing with a toy, but the TV's on. And it's like, what are we doing? Which one do you want to do?
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I could agree with that, but that just feels like common sense to me. If you're not using something, just turn it off. That feels like just a good rule of thumb for all of life. All right, here's the second one. Keep TVs, smartphones, and computers out of the bedroom.
But if you look at their description of that point, they even give you monitor your child's screen time and the websites he or she is visiting to keep TVs and computers in common areas of your house. I think you cut that short and you monitor your child's screen time, whether it's in their room or not, and the websites he or she is visiting, whether it's in their room or not, and you create rules around all of that.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether they're in their room or not. Monitor the amount of time that they're spending and what type of content they're consuming or playing, period.
Yes.
I don't see the bedroom as being a factor in that.
Right. It doesn't.
If it's uncontrolled, okay, they're going to go to the bedroom and immediately try to do something that they're not allowed to do because they know that they're less likely to get caught in the privacy of their room.
Correct.
Hopefully, if you have a relationship with your child, that they come to you to ask questions rather than seeking those questions out on the internet where they might find things they're not supposed to find or shouldn't find.
Oh, they will find things. Or those things might find them.
Exactly.
Just as easily.
But monitoring that content and that time and having a relationship with your child eliminates the problem of it being in the bedroom.
Correct. Exactly. The problem is solved before. Yeah, I agree. So last one here. I don't know. Don't eat in front of the screen. Allowing your child to eat
like dinner,
or snack in front of the screen of electric devices increases his or her screen time. The habit also encourages mindless munching, which can lead to weight gain. That last bit I would probably agree with, but again, don't just give your kid a box of goldfish.
Monitor their food consumption.
Yes.
How many snacks are you like? So I mean, we have rules. You have to finish your meal before you can have snacks.
Yeah.
If I give you a meal and you don't finish it, but then immediately come to me 10 minutes later and say, I want a snack. I'm sorry, no. Go finish your breakfast. Go finish your lunch. Like we're not playing this game where you don't finish the meal and then immediately go grab a bag of chips. So I am monitoring their snack and their munching and their food before it even gets to any of that. If they want to sit on the couch and eat a snack after they've eaten their meal and it's their first snack of the day, okay, I have no problem with that. I'm okay. I'm monitoring the food. It has nothing to do with the screen.
It feels like all of these things have a very similar theme, and that is, hey, parents, do parenting things.
Yeah.
And these won't be problems. If you were to take
be a parent, yeah.
If you were to take an extremely obese 9-year-old to the hospital and be like, oh man, he's too fat because he's on his iPad, do you think that they're going to go, oh, yep, we've seen that. That's what it is.
Take the iPad away and he'll lose it all.
Yeah. They're going to go, no, what are you feeding him? Oh, well, we give him, biscuits and gravy every morning and a bag of chips. But that damn screen time made my kid fat. It's like, no, you made your kid fat. That's how that works. Yeah. It's all, what do you know?
At the end of the day, it's all being parent.
Yeah, it all comes down to, like you said, monitor it, and too much of anything is a bad thing.
It's being active as a parent.
Yes.
Your job should never be passive. If you're being reactionary and passive in your parenting, then the problem has already occurred. If you're proactive and getting ahead of the problems and watching what they're consuming, watching the types of things they're consuming, watching how much time they spend consuming versus how much time they spend playing or puzzle solving, etc., you can anticipate a lot of those problems and you can cut them off before they even become problems.
Yes, absolutely.
You have to be engaging and you have to be proactive, and it takes work. It's hard. And a lot of times it's not the answer they want, and they're going to kick and scream and cry because of your rules. But ultimately, that's what they need.
And the last thing I'll add, we're almost done here. Full disclosure, and if you listen to one single episode of this podcast before you listen to this one, you'll fully understand we are not perfect parents. Yeah, I slip up. I will, oh crap, they've been on the iPad for 4 hours. Like it happens. You lose track of time.
Especially working at home now
and by the way, I'm just as guilty. I will be scrolling on my phone for an hour and I'll look up and my kids have been watching TV and I haven't said anything to them. They haven't said anything to me. And I'm like, oh yeah, this isn't great. Like it happens. Like you'll slip up here and there, but don't make a habit of it. And it won't be a problem. But yeah, I'm not sitting here saying I do all these things perfect and yada, yada, yada. No, I myself have easily destroyed an entire family-sized bag of chips while watching a single movie. It's not an issue. I can certainly do it. But yeah, it can happen. But I feel like all those things, like you said, just monitor, just be a parent, and you'll be perfectly fine. It won't be an issue. Oh, and by the way, kids tend to just have attention problems because, I don't know, they're 5 or 6 or 7. They just have it. It's what they do.
Dorks.
I'm quite sure in 1932, 5-year-olds had problems paying attention to things. I feel pretty confident in that.
Almost guaranteed.
I wasn't around, but hearing the stories of my grandparents about my parents, now that wasn't in the 30s, obviously, but I'm going, oh yeah, guess what? They still found ways to get in trouble. They had to be a little more creative, but kids tend to seek that out. It just is what it is.
And you have to be proactive as a parent.
Yeah, it's always. All right. Well, this has been another episode of the Common Dad Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Of course, the best way to support the program, well, the number one way to support the program is to send us thousands, preferably millions of dollars. But if you can't do that, we understand, kind of. In lieu, just, click a like button, follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, do all those things, and that will be a fine substitute. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next episode.